All right, welcome everybody to Friday Chill Stream here on Pocket Apocalypse. I'm Gary Machuda. It's great to be with you today. Hope everybody is having a great ending of the week. As you know, here in the Chill Streams, I am broadcasting extremely early in the morning. My family's asleep, so I got to keep the sound down. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be very loud and animate, but hopefully it's come through nice and clear. So, guys, I was going to conclude the series on Josephus, and I decided, you know what, there's still little bits and pieces I want to just throw in there. And so I think we're going to do that. We're going to finish up today. What better time to finish up than a Friday and talk a little bit about Josephus and kind of just add on a whole bunch of, what do I want to say? A whole bunch of bits and pieces that just further establish the point that we've made over the last few live streams. So if there's anybody new joining us today and you're not really sure what we're talking about Josephus, check out Pocket Apocalypse. Go to the live or just chat room. Just look for our live streams and you'll be able to find that. And whoa, awesome. Man, right off the bat, thank you so much for those gift memberships. Wow, I totally appreciate it. Man, that's a great way to start off a Friday. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Not only you're supporting the channel, but you're also advertising the channel and getting more people on. So thank you so much. I appreciate that very much. Yeah, so we're going to do the live streams. What am I doing here? I'm still new to this stuff. All right, Divine Mercy's in the house. Awesome, brother. Hey, if you want to come up, Divine Mercy, I always love having you on board just for ongoing commentary. It's always great to see you as well. When do you sleep? When does Divine Mercy Apologetics sleep? I guess it never sleeps, right? It's eternally vigilant, right? So, yeah, brother, if you want to come on board, love to have you with us. By the way, just for anyone who may be viewing that's not part of the stream, maybe you're just running across it. If you like learning about the Old Testament canon, if you love vindicating the Word of God, one way you can help this out is to subscribe if you haven't subscribed, or tell your friends about it. Let's grow the stream. And for some reason, I'm looking at the live stream on YouTube and I'm looking at StreamYard. It doesn't look like StreamYard has all the comments. I'm not sure why. Oh well. All right. Divine Mercy's with us. Awesome. How you doing, James?
God bless you, man.
Yeah. So when do you sleep? I really want to know the answer to that question. When do you sleep?
Your time? It
Yeah.
would be around. I'll probably fall asleep at 5:30. Wake up at 8:30 to 9.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've been making you some thumbnails. You need to contact William. I made you. Who's It's Will Smith and the other gentleman. I forgot his name in Men in Black.
Oh yeah. Who is that? I know you're
Tommy Lee Jones.
That's it. Yep.
Tommy Lee Jones. I made a thumbnail of you as Tommy Lee Jones with the black glasses and the black blazer. William has it, so he could send it to you.
Awesome. I gotta check that out. Yeah, I love doing thumbnails. It's a great way to make fun of yourself, you know.
Dude, you have no clue. Imanaya in your comments will tell you what I've been doing for the last hour. I've been just making. I made one of you, Dr. David and William and Sam as the A team.
Yeah.
Oh, it's hilarious.
Awesome. You know, I have trouble doing the team ones. I could do individual ones, but I have trouble with team ones. So yeah, I really appreciate, especially the team ones, because I want to give you guys a sneak peek since you're up early in the morning or late at night or wherever you are in the world. Let's see if I can find this really quick. This has nothing to do with Josephus whatsoever. But I want to give you a sneak peek. I want this to be the thumb for today's second live Apocrypha Apocalypse. Let's see if I can find it. You're gonna love this one. I just got approval from William. And let's see if I can find it. I wasn't expecting. Are you a Three Stooges fan?
Yeah. I want to see. It's okay. I can do one for you as well if you guys ever want. You need to tell William to contact me on that stuff.
Yeah. Darn it, I don't think I can pull it up. But the thumbnail for this afternoon's live stream has the Apocrypha Apocalypse theme as the Three Stooges.
Okay,
so I'm really proud of that, but I can't pull it up. I don't know. I'm not used to StreamYard for some reason.
There's a button that says share or present at the bottom.
Yeah, I tried that.
And then it says image file.
I can't find it though.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking on. Maybe it's under downloads. Let me try that.
Do you remember what you called it? The file name?
Yeah, it's not showing all the files for some reason. I think maybe it's not a JPEG. Maybe that's why it's not coming up. I tried the Three Amigos, but it looks too weird. Our faces on the Three Amigos. So I love movies. So I want to do parodies on movies.
Is your email on your description? In your bio?
Yes.
Okay, so you don't mind don't mind telling me your email right now, right? Or you can at least type it in the private chat and I can
let me do that in the private chat. Yeah.
Okay.
Just give me a second here. Sorry, guys. In fact, I'll give you my personal email. That's not rerouted. Make sure that's the private chat. Okay.
Yeah, it is.
There we go. All right. Yeah, because I'm so confident.
So give me
dox myself.
Give me 3 minutes. I'll make you one right now, and you can add the words over top of it. Literally,
I do have the thumbnail. I just, for some reason, StreamYard's not bringing it up.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, right. But I appreciate that. That's awesome. So
I'm
you're
still
like me.
Gonna do it. I'm gonna email it to you right now. Just give me one. It takes me minutes, Gary. Hold on.
No problem. Well, in the meantime, hey, thank you so much for the gift. Memberships, guys, that's a great way you can support the ministry is through memberships. We appreciate it. I'm still working on figuring out how to give members exclusive previews. I don't know, for some reason it goes live, and I keep trying and awesome. We got our friends in Australia. Awesome, thank you. This just blows me away, guys. I'm an old timer, and I just remember when I was a young kid, if we got one of those international letters in the mail, with the barber poles. I don't know if any of you are old enough to remember those. That was like an event in our house to get a letter from Canada or something. It just blows my mind, that right now we have a brother here in Ethiopia watching. We got Australia watching. I know we have Europe. It's just awesome. So technology just blows me away. Thanks be to God. What a great time to live as a Christian, right? Yeah, you could just do so many amazing things and expose so many lies now. It's so easy. I think that's why you have groups now that are just imploding because they live on deception. And that's actually brings up something I've been, since, it's just us doing the chill stream here. I've been toying in my mind. There is a prominent anti-Catholic who's trying to make his name on the Canon. He wrote a book, and this book has a lot of deceiving quotes. He horribly misuses sources. Now, I'm not talking about in terms of interpreting, everybody's free to interpret things the way they are, but he literally uses sources against what they're saying in their books. I mean, he changes the meaning in the sources in this book. I was thinking of exposing him because he's getting traction in a lot of Protestant circles. but I have my worries and doubts. Yeah, I'm purposely not saying who it is because I don't know whether or not I want to expose them or not. I'm afraid of copyright infringement. That's my main problem because in order to debunk him, I have to show word for word what he says in print because he uses ellipsis to cut out vital things in his quotations to deceive his readers. And, also whether it's a Christian thing to do to pull his pants down in public. I mean, on the other hand, he is deceiving people. So I've mentioned him before on this channel, and I've done call outs to non-Catholics to say, hey, if you're going to have this guy on your live stream for Protestants, buy his book and do the research, look up the quotes, see this guy is really a hack. Apparently no one's done that. So James, I don't know if you heard that, but
I don't know who you're talking about, or I might know who you're talking about.
yeah,
But
I've
for the
mentioned
sake
him.
of
I'll put it in private chat. By the way, if anyone wants to come and chat with us,
you ought to check your email, Gary.
okay.
I'm having too much
definitely
fun
will.
doing this. I'm having far too much fun doing this.
Okay, I put it in private chat who I'm talking about.
Oh yeah. I wouldn't waste your breath on that guy.
Yeah, see, but the thing is, he's getting traction, and I hate it when people are deceived. That's my pet peeve. That's why I'm in apologetics. I can't stand it when I know for a fact somebody's misrepresenting things purposely and misleading people. They're in the law of Moses. One of the woes of the covenant curses is woe to he who misleads a blind man on his way. And that's like one of my life verses. It's like I stay awake at night, afraid that I might mislead somebody. So, but anyway, yeah. So Zeke, TM, hey, thanks for all you do. Sent your paper of Josephus dozens of Christians. Awesome. Well, thank you. That's great. Yeah, that's pretty high level. So,
did you see it?
I'm afraid to bring it up because I'm so incompetent. I don't want to broadcast my email.
No,
Okay,
just save the file and then
okay.
right click and then save as.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then you save. Remember what file you save.
That's interesting that you chose those particular people to be that. Okay, I'm going to save the image.
You like the picture?
I love it. That's
Right.
Awesome. Let's see. How can I do this? Okay. Guys, I got to share this with you. It's just too good. But it's interesting you chose those particular stooges because I chose different ones.
No, I went back to the basics.
Oh, come on. Yeah, you know what it is StreamYard has a filter on it. And it's not, I just saved it and I can't bring it up. I don't want to.
You know what? Let me go to my laptop. Give me 1 sec.
Can you share it?
Yeah, because I'm speaking to you from my phone, but let me go to my laptop.
Okay. By the way, guys, if you're just joining us, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Do the bell because we do these periodic live streams, chill streams, I call it. Yeah. So let me know what you think about whether you want Apocrypha Apocalypse to do that kind of expose. Like I said, James says it's not worth it, and I agree with him. It's just, I don't know. By the way, also Patreon. That's another way you can support the ministry. On Patreon, I get PowerPoints, any kind of research material. You get ebooks, you get all sorts of stuff. But the only reason I bring that up is one project I've been working on all week is I'm translating some works, getting them translated into English. And one of them is Carl Stad's work on the Canon, which is the first work written on the Canon by a Protestant. I got the translation done. I'm formatting it. I'm going to put it up on Patreon. And by the way, if you guys want these free books, just email me. Contact information's on the YouTube stream. I'll be glad to send it to you free because I'm not that kind of guy that wants to make money off this stuff. But I also feel indebted to anybody who donates to the ministry. I feel like they deserve some stuff. So I'm doing that. There's also an old Catholic work that's been forgotten. It's written in the 1840s called Vindication of the Fourth Session of Council of Trent. It's in Latin. It's a 3-volume set. I'm currently working through that. Hopefully that'll be done within a week. That's also going to be available as well. Very interesting. He covers like every topic you can think of. James, do you have it? Excuse me.
Yeah, I'm trying to log in on my laptop, but it's not showing.
All right, Joey Esto. 5 gifted memberships. Thank you so much, brother. I totally appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Joey. Thank you, Joey, bro.
You're awesome.
I saw you gifted me one too. Okay, I'm gonna close from my phone and come up from my laptop.
Okay,
All
sounds good. Okay, should I remove you?
Yeah, I'll remove myself.
Okay, thank you. Boy, thank God for James. What a godsend. He is so helpful. All right.
And I bet it sounds clear too.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm using a good mic. So save as. Okay. Did you happen to catch the Creed, the episodes at all?
I've been following it. I don't know if I'm up to date though. It's been great. By the way, if anybody hasn't checked out Divine Mercy Apologetics, subscribe, guys. Support our brother. If you love in-depth stuff, which I do, you'll love his material. And he has this incredible series on the Creed. So I love that. I actually did for my church's Bible study. We couldn't come up with the next book to study. I actually studied the Creed and did an in-depth one. But you go even beyond that. So great
Praise
stuff. Oh man, we got some characters here.
Here we go. I got it up. You have to put it up.
Yeah, let me let's see, how do I do this?
Just put down yours. So remove from studio the big button. And then the one I have, just put it up. No. Now the other one I have, the picture. You see how it says put on stage?
Yeah, I have that, but for some reason it's not. Should I remove myself?
No, it's the back. There you go. That's fine.
Go. Okay. That's awesome.
I'm such a child. This stuff I could do all day and laugh forever.
I know. I'm the same way. I'm having a ball with this stuff.
Did you notice David is in the middle?
Yeah, that was interesting choice of stooges because because William, shaves his head. I have him as Curly. You put him as Larry. That's interesting. And David as Mo. But the expression on Mo's face is pretty.
I can actually make myself laugh.
I know. I do the same thing. I'm cracking up doing these things. I wish I could share mine. I just don't know. I have to play around with StreamYard some more. Figure out why it's not working. That is awesome.
Yeah, I can make you a bunch, Gary.
Thank you for making me Curly and the good Curly, not Curly Joe or the lesser Curlies. Yeah. Yeah, the thumbnails. We're having a ball with the thumbnails. Are you going to do some of these for your Divine Mercy?
I can't, man. I wear a mask.
That's right. There's got to be a way.
Here, I'll show you one that I made. I wasn't going to show it, but I'll show it. I might as well. Here, I can just download it. All right, here. Remember the movie Bloodsport?
Yes.
All right, give me a sec.
Okay.
You're going to laugh your head off because this is great. This is one of my favorites. I don't think William will ever live this down. I think we're gonna go toe to toe because of this one. So give me a moment.
I love that. That
All
is
right.
great.
Hold on. I'm gonna bring up a new image for you.
Okay. I actually look pretty good as Curly.
Yeah, no, yours is yours is the most dignified one. And to be honest,
By the way,
William,
here's something you guys might not know. The Three Stooges, I don't know about Larry Fine, but the Howards, they are Jewish Lithuanians. And I'm
really?
Lithuanian.
Oh, there you go.
So maybe that's why I make a good Curly. It's like the Lithuanian aspect of it. But anyway, here, I'll take this off. Okay.
You remember Bloodsport?
See, that works. That works. Okay, this is too funny.
Yeah, we don't even need to do a stream. I can just show you what I've made for the next hour, and we can have a great stream.
Oh, that is so funny. Yeah, no, we got to get to the material. You're going to make me laugh so hard I'm going to wake up my family. Then this won't be a chill stream. It'll be, I got to get off and apologize stream.
William is he's not gonna let me live that one down.
You know what? With all the comments about bag milk,
Yeah,
I think I think that's well deserved. You should do that.
I'm gonna just show you the Tommy Lee Jones one because it's you, and then we'll move on.
Zeke TM, I haven't seen it. I don't know if it was you, but other people that brought that particular channel up. So I'll look at it. I just did one on the Galatian Decree. It's about the Council of Rome. Yeah, this is awesome. But yeah, we need to get into the material because you're making me laugh too much.
Actually, yeah, I can do a lot more. That's all. You should probably stop me. But do you not want to see the Tommy Lee Jones one before we continue?
Okay, I gotta see it.
All right,
yeah.
It's you, and it's pretty cool. I can't lie. Tommy Lee Jones, where are you?
I hear somebody walking.
Oh, you're in trouble, man.
Yeah,
I made you laugh too much. There you go.
Okay, wait. Okay, that's the Bloodsport one. Oh, here it is. Hey, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's you.
I like that.
All right, let's continue.
Pretty classy.
Let's get into the show.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you. Yeah. Yeah, you make me look good. I don't know about William though.
Yeah, that's so bad. He's not gonna forgive me for that one, man.
No, that's too good. This is too funny. Too funny.
All right, let's go.
Yeah, I'm starting to cry.
All right, let's go. Let's go.
Okay, now we got the warm up for Josephus. Now let's get into the putting everybody to sleep section of the. Okay, well, let's start with the review, guys. Like I said, I think this is going to be the last one on Josephus, unless you guys have more. You want to do more, but this is basically it. So I want to just do a review for those who have been joining our chill stream. The importance of Josephus's list. This is everywhere. It is so for Protestant apologetics and Protestant canon. Josephus is indispensable because it represents the earliest list, okay, which is not a list, but they try to make it into a list. It's Jewish, and it gives the number 22, which they think affirms the Protestant canon. And so it's really, really important as far as evidence for the Protestant canon. The problem is, I don't believe he actually is giving a canon, much less a list. We did a video on William Whiston's translation, and the Whiston translation has deceptive things that makes Josephus sound as if he is giving a canon list, and he's not. We talked about that there's no indication in Against Appian with Josephus that he's given us a canon. He never segregates inspired from uninspired works, sacred from non-sacred works, authoritative from non-authoritative, prophetic from non-prophetic, divine from secular, scripture from human writings, or canonical from apocrypha. None of that is in Against Appian. He doesn't provide a list, which is something you would expect if you are delineating which books are from God and which ones aren't. He doesn't identify a single book. So it's not even a list per se. It's like more of a description or enumeration. Scholars are not entirely agree on the contents of the 22. We've talked about that on the live stream. Actually, several believe that Josephus is actually missing at least 2 books, perhaps more. So then we also talked about what exactly is Against Appian. What's he doing there? What are these 22 books? And basically, Josephus is vindicating his Antiquities of the Jews, where if you're not familiar with that work, he chronicles the history of the Jews from the beginning of creation all the way to the first Jewish revolt in the AD 66 through 72, I think is the dates. Now, there were Greeks that said that his Antiquities was false, that the Jewish race really wasn't that ancient. And because the Judeans weren't mentioned in the earliest Greek historiography. So that's what Against Appian is he wants to vindicate the earliest section of Antiquities of the Jews. And to do that, he responds by showing that Greek historiography is not ancient. It's relatively recent for Josephus. He was writing about AD 100. Which he says starts shortly before Xerxes' invasion of Greece. And he takes the groups that the Greeks actually esteem as being very good historiographers, like the Babylonians, the Egyptians, and the Phoenicians. He talks about their superiority. He lampoons the Greek historiography as not even holding a candle to these cultures. And then he says that the Jews have 22 histories that were written before Artaxerxes. And this is something a lot of people miss. Why Artaxerxes? Well, because he was the successor to Xerxes, who marks the beginning of Greek historiography. In other words, right when the Jewish histories are starting to become, that historical narrative starts becoming broken up, that happens after Greek historiography is just starting to get underway. So he's showing that his sources that proves the antiquity of the Jews are superior to even the Babylonians, the Phoenicians, the Egyptians. And so that's why he segregates the 22 books. It's because he's trying to vindicate the earliest Jewish historiography and prove that his Antiquities is well-founded. And that's why he's making this distinction. He's not distinguishing canonical books from non-canonical books. Rather, he's distinguishing the best historiography because it has a continuous historical narrative versus later historiography, which is discontinuous, but it's still prophetic. It still could be considered sacred. So he's not making a canon. So hopefully that makes sense. That's my brief overview. There's one bit that I haven't gone into, and I wanted to throw this in. At least I don't think I went to it in depth. So James, you can correct me if I did do this. But someone could say, fine, Gary, you've shown in the context that this is what Josephus is doing, but you have to show us in Against Appian. Does he actually make that distinction between continuous and non-continuous historiography? And I think he does, but it's a bit subtle. Okay, so that's what I want to get into. I think you can actually see this in the work itself. Oops, I forgot this part. You guys can read it on your own. Just go back. Okay. So this is my argument. he differentiates the 22 like this. There was an exact succession of prophets prior to Artaxerxes. These are ancient contemporary histories. They're continuous historical narrative that's comprehensive and it's regulated. Only prophets can write it. Those after Artaxerxes has an inexact succession. They're more recent. They're still contemporary histories, but they're not continuous and they're sporadic. But it's still regulated. It's still written by prophets. Okay. Now, where in Against Sapien do we see that? Well, I think the whole argument and context points to that. But I think there's also a linguistic distinction he makes, which is a little subtle, but I think it's there. So I don't want to put too much weight on this, but I think it's good to confirm what we've suspected from the context. Okay. So let's get into it. Okay. When he describes the 22 books that were written before Artaxerxes, he says something very interesting. And I'll read the Barclay. There's the three major translations for you, and I give you the Greek on the bottom. Okay. It says, among us, there are not thousands of books in disagreement and conflict with each other, but only 22 books containing the record of all time, which are rightly trusted. And as you can see here, I have highlighted the record of all time. You can see this in the Whiston, you can see this in Thackeray, and you can see it in the Greek. Okay. Now, if you're reading carefully through Josephus' Against Appian, this should be one of those rumble strips. You know, when you're in a parking lot and they have those warning things that make your car vibrate. That's a vibration, right? Because it's like, hold on, Josephus. The 22 books only go up to Artaxerxes, right? So he knows that this is not the record of all time. Antiquities would be close to the record of all time for him, right? So how can he say that the 22 represent the record of all time? See, that should be a problem for you guys, because that seems totally false and it doesn't fit with the context. Did you pick up on that, James? I'm just curious if you noticed that.
Yeah, it's a little bit presumptuous, to say the least.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense because it's not the record of all time. How can you say the 22 books are the record of all time? Okay, so I'll call attention here is at the bottom. That's right, you guys can't see my cursor. But two pentos. Okay, two pentos. Now, when he describes the books written after Artaxerxes, he says this. Again, this is from Barclay, but you can see the other translations. Actually, here, I think the Whiston really nails it. From Artaxerxes up to our own time, every event has been recorded, but this is not judged worthy of the same trust, since the exact line of succession of prophets did not continue. And here, notice he's not using pan or pantos, right? He's using it's so early I can't even pronounce this. Hecasta. I'm probably butchering it. I'm sorry, guys. I should have woke up a little bit more for the chill stream. But he's using a different word, right? For the 22, it's pantos. For those written afterwards, he's using this word right here that it's too early to remember how it's pronounced. Okay. And notice, okay, I think Whiston actually captures this. Artaxerxes, that the ones written since Artaxerxes, very particularly. But I'm going ahead of myself. Let's look up what the lexicons have. So you have all time for the 22, every event for those after the 22. Let's go to lexicons, shall we? Boy, the slide marker is obstructing this. Okay. Now, I just picked some lexicons at random. but they all basically say the same thing because, guys, and James, you could back me up on this. Those words are basic Greek, right? You got to learn.
Fairly common.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, this is not controversial at all. So when I was reading it through in Greek, this really stuck out at me. But I want to show you that I'm not making it up. So here are the lexicons. And I just picked them at random. Some of our New Testament lexicons, others are with non-biblical sources, but they all say the same thing. Okay. So
tu pantos echonta chronu.
Thank you.
The record of all time. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, you have the different variants of pan, passa, so on and so forth. Now, when it has the article, let's look. Loania says, with the definite article pertaining to being entire, whole, with a focus on the totality, entire, whole, total. Okay. Now, so if you have pantos and you put the article, right? If you have the article, the, okay, then it means all, entire, totality. Okay. And just to prove that, the other lexicons, you have little here, little in Scott, Greek English lexicon. It says with the article in the sense of all, the whole. Okay. And then at the bottom, we have concise Greek. Again, it gives all the different iterations of pan, pass. It says without the article, it means each and every. Okay. Plural, all. Every kind of, all, full, absolute, greatest. But with the article, it means entire, whole, all. Okay. For you apologists out there, Catholic apologists, 2 Timothy, when Paul says all scripture is inspired, we notice that it's inarticular. It doesn't have an article.
Yeah.
So it's every scripture is inspired. So we know this distinction in apologetics, but for those who aren't familiar with it, in Greek, if you have the article, it means whole, total. If you don't, it means each. Okay. Now, since my brain is fried, would you mind pronouncing the Greek word there? Because I know I butchered it.
Ekasta?
Ekasta. Thank you. Okay. Ekasta. Thank you.
You're welcome, bro.
Now, when I'm getting old, you get those senior moments where things you've known for years just doesn't come to memory.
Honestly, yeah.
Okay, so now Acosta is different from pantos. Acosta actually specifically means each. Okay.
Right.
So here's the same lexicons just to show you that I'm not pulling rabbit out of a hat. This is basic Greek. So Acosta's each one.
Mechritu kath nimas chruno ekapatai men ekasta. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the word order is a little weird.
Yeah.
That's what it means. So it means each one of a totality in a distributive sense, each. And then the little in Scott has each opposed to the whole body. So here it's like specifically each one, not the whole. The opposite of pantos, right? And then we have the other one, the concise Greek English dictionary, each, every. Now, why do I bring this up? Because I think that's the distinction he's making there. I think this confirms what we've seen in the context, right? When he's talking about the 22 books, it has a continuous historical narrative, right? That's why he describes it as the record of all time. Now, he doesn't mean all time from the creation of the cosmos to his own day, right? That's obviously not what he means. He means in this segment of time between creation and Artaxerxes, the whole history is there. It's comprehensive. It's continuous. There's no gaps. Okay. But after Artaxerxes, then you have what he describes as each event or every event. So it's not the whole history after Artaxerxes, but it's only little particular events. Would you concur with that, James? But I see it, but it's always good to have a second opinion.
Yeah.
If you don't agree, that's fine.
Well, no, it's clear as day. Pantos, right? Two pantos, and then ekasta. They're one is holistic and one is individualized. Simple as that.
Yeah. So I think the distinction that I said is there in Josephus, I think it's actually there in terms of his language. I mean, it's literally there in his writings. So it's not just a mere argument from context, but I think it's context and his verbiage. And that's why I think let's go back to, that's why I think actually Whiston nails it when he says that it is true our history has been written since Artaxerxes very particularly. I think that's a really good way to render it.
Right.
Where you don't get that in Thackeray, but you do get that in Barclay, but it's not quite as emphasized. So hopefully that makes sense to you guys. I wanted to add that because someone could say, yeah, you're arguing from context, but other people could read the context differently. I think there's also verbiage as well. I don't want to put too much emphasis on that, but I think it's there. So Zeke TM says succession of prophets, in particular prophets, is read as the canonical interpretation. What does Josephus mean by prophet? Yeah, that's a really good question. Josephus, his concern isn't whether something is sacred scripture or not. His concern is accurate historiography because he's trying to vindicate his Antiquity of the Jews. So even when he talks about inspiration, the inspiration, he says, and I think this is in, I could be wrong, but I think it's book 1, section 37. He says that the prophets learned through inspiration of God what happened in the most ancient past, and also they wrote contemporary histories as they occurred, or they wrote them plainly. And, I could bring up my logos and make sure I got that right. So he does touch on inspiration, but it's inspiration only in regards to writing history. Okay, here it is. I was right. It was 137. It says, but the prophets alone learned by inspiration from God what had happened in the distant and most ancient past, and recorded plainly events in their own day, just as they occurred. So what is inspiration for in Against Appian for Josephus? They learned about the most ancient past. He's referring to Moses, right? How can Moses write about the creation of the world when there weren't any human beings there to record it, right? How could he have written about Adam and Eve and things like that? Or stuff that happened before the flood, right? Because the flood would destroy any historical writings, or at least that's generally how it's understood. So Josephus in 137 says, God revealed to Moses everything that happened before time. So that's how he knows about creation. And then he adds on that it's through inspiration that the prophets plainly recorded events in their own time just as they occurred, which, apparently there's some sort of assistance that they do this. Although I did look up the way he uses the word that's translated plainly, and it doesn't seem to have any special significance, if I remember correctly. So hopefully that makes sense, right? So for Josephus, if only prophets can write history, and they receive inspiration so that they write it accurately, and they are informed about things that happen before there's writings. So there's no distinction for Josephus between the histories written before Artaxerxes and the histories written after Artaxerxes, they are both written by prophets, and therefore they're both inspired. And that's what scholars and apologists miss, non-Catholic apologists, that he's not separating inspired from non-inspired, prophetic from non-prophetic. He's just separating really good history from sporadic history. But it's still good history. It just doesn't cover everything. James, do you want to add anything to that?
No. You've been building to this point for 4 episodes.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so if you have any questions, just...
No, I'm saying whoever doesn't get it needs to go watch your shows prior to this one.
There you go. Okay, I don't understand how any Protestant could trust any rabbinic Jew after Christ rose from the dead, correct number of books, as Jesus warned. Yeah, that's true. That's but you know what? If you're trying to look at the canon from an objective standpoint, this is data, and you have to interpret the data correctly. And I think a lot of people misinterpret it. Okay, I got some more, and we're actually running a little long. Okay.
That's partly my fault.
Oh, no, this is fine. James, you made my day. I could not think of a better way to start the day than the way you did it. So thank you so much for doing that. I see it. Paul speaks of the Jews in the New Testament. He always uses past tense, never present, as Christians would go by to the church. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, in fact, when Paul says that the Jews were entrusted with the oracles of God in Romans 3:2, I think it is, that's actually aorist. They had been trusted with the oracles of God, which kind of implies that they no longer are. After all, Paul is transmitting the oracles of God, right? So it's not exclusively Old Covenant revelation. Christians do it as well. Yeah, the Jews rejected Jesus. Yeah, that's problematic. Like if you look at post-Christian rabbinic Judaism for your source for the canon, as a Christian, you have to do it only in terms of history. You can't do it dogmatically. Whatever the synagogue passes after Jesus isn't binding on Christians. And Jews don't expect it to be either, by the way. Okay, here's another thing I just want to touch on. We touched on this last time we met, last chill stream. It's the one overrules the preponderance of the evidence. This is one of those things, guys, that drives me nuts. I don't know, James, if you encountered it, but in order to make the Protestant canon work, you see this in literature. It goes back to the probably even earlier, 1700s. They'll prioritize list and use it as trump cards to overrule everything else, right?
Right.
So they'll admit, oh yeah, they use them as inspired documents, they use them authoritatively, but the list trumps that, So no other field, and back me up on this, James, I can't think of a single field of science, right? Not just biblical studies, but scientific studies, where one thing would overrule the preponderance of the evidence.
Yeah, no, that's not how it works. Actually, you tend to want to corroborate each piece of evidence with the other, right?
Yeah, right.
One cannot, in essence, overrule all the evidences. Unless it's an exceptional piece of evidence that isn't at all ambiguous, right? But even we learned that Josephus's evidence, especially as to how he enumerates his quote canon list, and unquote,
right?
So I mean, I don't think it's not enough. It's insufficient.
Yeah, I mean, think of it. If you're in a lab, you're trying to test for the presence of a protein in a sample. You take many samples. You check 1, it's there. You check 2, it's there. You check 3, it's there. You check 4, it's there. You check 5, it's not there. What would you do with the 5th one? Do you say, okay, the protein's not there, and just ignore the first 4 tests, right? No, you would say the 5th is an outlying test. Maybe it was corrupted, maybe something went wrong, right?
Yeah.
But you'd have to reconcile it or throw it out. You throw out the outlying evidence. You don't throw out the preponderance of the evidence
Right.
unless you're trying to make the test come out the way you want it to come out. And when it comes to canonical studies, guys, I see this over and over again. They throw out everything of early church father wrote on the subject. They'll throw it out, even within the same book that has a list, and they'll say, no, what he says in the list, that's the canon. Everything else, it doesn't matter. Everything has to be understood through the list. And you just don't do that ever in any field. You have to square the evidence. And usually the outlying evidence is a flag that something went wrong with the test. And I think when it comes to Josephus and the other early church fathers, I think they're misunderstanding the list, because I think you have to take the list one by one. In Josephus' case, it's not even a list, and he's not doing what people are trying to make him to do. So, okay. So I just want to go over this just because I think it's an important point, because as we're doing these chill streams, or as you're watching the videos on Apocrypha Apocalypse, you're going to see this over and over again. So I want you to be aware of it. So here's the verses, or the sections that we're talking about, right? This is what we've been studying over the past 3 or 4 streams. Among us, there's not 1,000 books in disagreement and conflict with each other, but only 22 books containing a record of all time, right? We just talked about that, which are rightly trusted. We talked about trusted. 5 of these are the books of Moses, which contain both the laws and the tradition from the birth of humanity up to his death. This is a period of a little less than 3,000 years. From the death of Moses to Artaxerxes, king of the Persians after Xerxes, the prophets after Moses wrote history of what took place in their own times in 13 books, and the remaining 4 books contain hymns of God and instructions for people on life. Okay, those are what we're going to be commenting on. Now, we also pointed out that in Antiquity of the Jews and in Against Appian, Josephus repeatedly says he's using the sacred books of the Jews as his sources. So Antiquities over and over again, I don't know if you can see the small type, but basically, translated from the Hebrew writings. He says the entire Hebrew scriptures, the sacred scriptures, right? He keeps saying, I'm using these sacred scriptures, sacred books. These are what's found in the sacred books, over and over, ad nauseum, right? He's using sacred texts to show the history of the Jews. And in this work, as we pointed out, he uses Deutero-Esther sections B through E and Antiquities of the Jews 11, 184 to 296. And he also uses First Maccabees extensively in Antiquities book 12, 237, 412. Okay. I'm smiling because I just saw another. Okay.
Don't put it up. Don't put it up, or unless you want to. I mean, it's up to you. But at the end, I was gonna say on your way out, so we can have a laugh on the way
guys.
out.
If you stay on the live stream, I will reveal this thumb. Okay, how about that? We'll use it as a carrot to keep people to read through this boring stuff.
No, it's great. I just made it right now, so I thought I'd show you before.
Wow, you did that right now?
You know the Three Stooges one I did at that moment, right?
Oh wow, no, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to show you this, and we kind of already seen glimpses of this last stream when we were going through Mead and Gallagher's book. Actually, before I begin, this is a really good question, so I want to answer your question here. Hollywood Big Boss. Gary, where does Job fit in Josephus? It's not of Moses. It's not Joshua to Artaxerxes. Not a hymn of God. Did he forget? That's an excellent point. It doesn't really fit with his descriptions. It may be a hymn of God because it's poetry, but that would put it among the 4 remaining books. Here, let me go back. But if it's among the 4 remaining books, then another proto-canonical book has to be missing because it doesn't fit in. But you're right, Job is very problematic, and I think I mentioned it in one of the chill streams. Okay.
The last one. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah. See, thank God you're here. You can support my failing memory. All right. Now, this is from Steve Mason's article in the Canon debate. And I just want to read this. And again, Steve Mason, I think, is probably the top Josephus specialist. He says, let us consider then the extent to which Josephus's actual use of the Judean records in antiquities elucidates his statement in Against Appian about the scope and order of the Judean records. So he's saying, okay, let's look at Antiquities of the Jews. Let's see how he uses his sources. He says, an obvious problem that in spite of his avowed intention to translate the nation's official language, and again, he only gives 2 citations, but there's like numerous more, right? So Josephus says, I'm only going to use the sacred books of the Jews. He intentionally says that. Mason says there's an obvious problem if that's true. He says the Antiquities does not, in fact, end with the reign of Artaxerxes, coinciding with the Esther story, as we would expect on the basis of Against Appian 138. In other words, he's saying, if we look at how he uses sources, he repeatedly states, I'm only going to use the sacred sources of the Jews. So you would expect, if he's giving the Protestant canon, that Antiquities would end with his sources at Artaxerxes, right, as we saw in Against Appian. But the problem is Antiquities continues after Artaxerxes. So how can he say, I'm using the sacred books of the Jews, and he goes beyond the 22 books? You see what's going on here? He says it is well known but not insurmountable problem that Josephus at some point decided to continue through the eve of the Great Revolt. Okay. So Mason sees the problem. The way Josephus uses the sacred books doesn't correspond to Against Appian if you're interpreting Against Appian as giving a canon. That's what he's saying. Okay. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, I can't do that every time, but I appreciate that. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. Okay, so that's an example. So continuing on, Mason writes this. As we have seen, he, that is Josephus, also continues his narrative to the present, treating the books of Pseudo-Aristeas and First Maccabees the same way that he treats biblical material. So Mason says, if you look at how he's using sources, he's using post-Artaxerxes sources the same way as he uses biblical sources, i.e. the 22 sources. Okay? He sees no differentiation in Antiquities. He uses all sources the same way, regardless if it's before or after Artaxerxes. So here it comes, the last paragraph. In other words, if we lacked Against Appian, Josephus would offer a clear case for an open canon. In other words, if it wasn't for him singling out 22 books, we would say Josephus has an open canon of scripture, right? Because it goes beyond Artaxerxes. It has First Maccabees. It has Deutero-Esther. It has even Letter of Aristeas, right? But he says, but we do have the Against Appian, in which this same Josephus emphatically and also matter-of-factly insist that the Judean records have long since been completed in 22 volumes. Do you see that? Since we do have the 22 book passage in Against Appian 138, then what? Then we just ignore everything he says in Antiquities. Yeah, we ignore the fact that, again, let me go back. We ignore the fact that he repeatedly, not only in Antiquities, but even in Against Appian, claims that he's using sacred text as his foundation. We can ignore all that. We can ignore the fact that he uses Deuteroesther. We can ignore the fact that he uses extensively First Maccabees. Why? Because Against Appian 138 trumps all the evidence. You see that, guys? Now, I wish I'm not lampooning Mr. Mason. Dr. Mason is a great scholar. Because I'm not lampooning him, because everybody does this in canonical research. They do it in different ways with the early church fathers. They do it with Josephus. It's all over. The list trumps everything. The preponderance of the evidence doesn't matter. If you have a list, that list is a canonical list, so therefore the canonical list trumps everything else. But what they're missing is the question: is each individual list truly a canon list? Does it represent the Christian Old Testament canon? And if you watch this Apocrypha Apocalypse videos, what you find is we go through these lists, examine them in context, we tear it apart, and we answer, by and large, no. A lot of the lists in antiquity that Protestants appeal to aren't really expressing the Christian canon, the objective, extent-inspired writings. They express different things, but they aren't expressing the objective canon. James, any comments on this?
Just confusion. It's dishonest too.
Yeah, that's what you get when you have the conclusion, and the conclusion drives the evidence.
Right.
But if the evidence drives the conclusion, they wouldn't make this problem. But they're trying to
inducive.
Yeah.
Inducive versus deducive.
Yeah, exactly. Now, this, for those who missed the last chill stream, I included this in Gallagher and Mead's book, The Biblical Canon List of Early Christianity. We had a lot of fun last chill stream, kind of making fun at how they go back and forth on this. But in case you missed it, Gallagher and Mead actually reinforce, they quote Mason and they reinforce his point. I'll read this. It says, quote, "As already indicated, this method of determining canonicity in an ancient author encounters serious problems in the face of parallel evidence in the ancient world." Okay, so they're saying when you're looking at lists and you're looking at how the early church fathers use these books, you encounter a serious problem. Okay, what's the problem, right? They continue, quote, "Steve Mason, for instance, has argued in regards to Josephus that if he did not have his own canon list in Against Appian, he used a wide variety of ancient Jewish writings, especially in his Jewish antiquities, which exhibits no difference whether the writing is now in the Hebrew Bible or not." Okay, so they're basically saying the same thing Mason's saying. Right? They're recapping what he's saying. He's saying, if you look at antiquities, you see that it exhibits no difference whether a writing is biblical or not biblical. He uses them the same way throughout his antiquities. Now, then they continue. This would convince us that he had a very wide canon, perhaps no canon at all. Okay, if you're just going by antiquities and how he uses these texts, he has a big canon, right? It includes deuterocanonical stuff. But instead, since Josephus does transmit a canon list, okay, which, by the way, is not canon and it's not a list, his writings caution us against assuming that using a writing, even using it as an authoritative in some way, signals acceptance of that writing's canonical status. So he says, see, this is a warning flag that if you have a list and that list doesn't comport with the preponderance of the evidence, then you have to get rid of the preponderance of the evidence. So even if an early church father, even if Josephus uses it as a biblical source, uses it authoritative, and the church fathers actually using it explicitly as inspired scripture, it doesn't matter because the list trumps the preponderance of the evidence. You guys see that? Yeah, I love this because they're honest, right? They're telling you what the methodology is. The problem is, guys, that may work if you can first establish that a list is actually trying to give the objective canon, what Swansona calls the Platonic canon, or the canon established by God, the true canon, the full extent of inspired writings. You have to establish that first before you can use this method. But these scholars just assume if you have a list, even if it's not a list in Josephus' case, then that is the objective canon, and therefore it trumps everything else. And that's why here in Apocrypha, we go to great lengths going through list and showing in context of what we know that no, these guys aren't giving the Christian objective Old Testament canon. They're maybe telling you what rabbinic Judaism now accepts because they changed, or they're giving advice to Christians, maybe new Christians, kind of saying stick to these that aren't controversial, what the Jews won't dispute. And there's other lists that represent other things. But you got to go on an individual basis. James, any thoughts on this?
No, you're right on the money, man. I mean, they're just difference here is they're telling you right before they do it. Pretty much.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Otherwise, they expect you to trump all the evidence because of, was it Section 38 of Against Appian?
Yeah. That overrules everything in Antiquities and even in Against Appian.
Yeah, it's absurd.
Yeah, but they do this for all the church fathers. They do it for Athanasius, Cyril of Jerusalem, Origen, Hilary, all of them, they do that. It's crazy. So another problem too, besides the one trumping the other, is this is a problem I pointed out last stream. You have this like echo chamber going on in canonical research because people who specialize, like Steve Mason specializes in Josephus. When he goes to passages like Against Appian 138, when it talks about apparently a canon, where does Mason go for his information? He goes to canonical scholarship, right? He sees what the canonical scholars say about this passage. Okay. And then he follows them. And so when canonical scholars see Josephus, where do they go to? They go to people who specialize in Josephus, like Steve Mason, and they follow what he says, which is
cyclical.
Yeah, exactly. And you see this right here, right? You can see the circle going on right here. Mason says this. And if you read Mason, by the way, he boots to canonical scholarship. That's why he says this is a canon, because canonical scholars say it's a canon. And now you have here canonical scholars citing Mason as proof that it's a canon. And the circle, it's a vicious circle. And that's why it takes a long time for canonical scholarship to actually break this cycle. Because in academia, you gotta pin your points on some sort of academic source, right? Or you got to go against the consensus and prove your stuff from the sources itself. And usually the people that go against the consensus, it's rare that there is a firestorm and everybody changes their mind. It's very rare that happens in academia. So it's like they're caught in a loop, right? If you look at the sources they use, this is what you get. Yeah. And it doesn't change. And by the way, this is also a flag for us Catholics. James, I've been studying this for a couple of decades, just the canon. And it's weird because canonical scholarship in the Catholic camp ceased like in the 1890s, 1900. There stopped being books written on the canon, and Catholics just booted the Protestant scholars.
Right.
I mean, you will get articles that are written by Catholics. There's a lot of articles or maybe chapters in books that deal with the canon, but in academic circles, we've vacated the battlefield. We just aren't there. And so we kind of caused this vicious circle because there's no scholars out there producing things on an academic level that's contrary to the narrative. So they're kind of stuck in this. So in a way, it's kind of our fault as Catholics. We haven't asserted ourselves.
We dropped the ball.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't. So I'll get off my my milk carton, but I always look to myself. I try not to blame others, and a lot of times it's us that is the problem. So Josephus, I think, falls. It's not a canonical list. It's not even the list. He's not giving 22 sacred books as opposed to unsacred. It's there against Appian. It's there in context. It's there in his argumentation. And that's why I did this academic level article on Academia EDU. You guys can check it out if you want all the footnotes and stuff. I doubt if anybody. Oh, I should mention this since it's just us. When you publish something on Academia EDU, you will get messages of people who read your papers. Just between you guys and me, Steve Mason has read my paper about 4 times. So he is aware of it. I don't know if he's going to blast me or God willing, maybe he change his mind. But it's interesting. He's seen it at least 4 times. So pray guys, that my inadequate writing and scholarship will at least make him reconsider some points.
I think it's possible.
Yeah, for God, everything's possible, right?
100%.
Yeah. So yeah, let's pray. And this is such an important point. And guys, the cool thing is, and by the way, thank you guys for supporting ministry and telling people about the channel. I get emails from Protestants all the time. In fact, probably there's some Protestants watching right now that have changed their mind on the canon because we're giving them information they don't know about.
Yeah.
And Catholics don't know about. So
and their scholars conceal. I'm not gonna say conceal, but there is something very dishonest about this process.
Yeah. Real quick, the paper, I only have 3 papers up there. I didn't give it the title. So if you just go up there, you'll see it. It's the only one on Josephus. Yeah, and the other thing too is like John Meade works for a group that I think it's a Protestant group on the canon, and Wesley Huff likewise works for an apologetics ministry, even though he's trying to get his doctorate.
Yeah, he's on his way to his doctorate.
They got skins in the game. These are apologists. So why are they not addressing the evidence like it should be addressed? It could be because, that's where their paycheck comes from, or I don't even want to say that. I would say they're probably zealous for their faith. And I don't think they knowingly do this, but, I don't know what to say. I don't want to cast aspersions on them because I can't read their hearts. But I think they're probably just zealous, and this is a blind spot. Hey, thanks, Byzantine's finest. Appreciate it. Yeah. So again, I'll keep going on my soapbox. Let's see here. 12 minor prophets and Josephus only quoted twice. Jonah and Nahum. Where did the other 10 go? You know what they would answer is they would say historically the 12 minor prophets were always counted as one book. So that would be, it would have to be one of the 22. I don't think that would raise any eyebrows, especially since some of the minor prophets like Nahum is very short. Right? It'd be more or less an argument from silence. Yeah. Any other questions, guys? Because we're approaching the end here.
I don't have anything to ask. I think you did a phenomenal job.
Oh, thanks.
As per usual.
Well, I don't know about that, but okay. So chill streams in the future next week. There's a couple of ways we could go. I'd like to find out what you guys want to do. Since we debunked Josephus, I suggest maybe going into the cessation of prophecy theory. We could debunk that, but that's a huge topic because we have to go through the preponderance of the evidence to show that it also doesn't exist. But I love it. It's a cool topic if you want to do that. Or we could go on to something else. We could talk about Melito or New Testament.
It's totally up to you. I agree. I think Melito is one that trips people up, even though it's pretty easy.
Yeah. Yeah, we could do that. That'd be fun.
Yeah. So that was a great show.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Okay, guys. I got to share this. I got to make sure I'm not going to laugh. Okay, so
I don't know if you can control that. This one's pretty deadly.
Yeah, it is. I could just tell it from the miniature. Oh, wait 1 second. Here's another question. Could do Ben Sira in the Mishnah?
I have a lot of that.
Yeah, there's a lot there. Let's put it on the docket for future ones. That's a great idea. Okay, guys, brace yourselves. This is an Easter egg for you guys that actually stuck through the live stream. By the way, hey, we're getting 20 people. That's great. Brace yourselves because this is James' masterpiece.
That's
Oh my gosh. That is too funny. That is too funny. I love it. How funny. Yeah, you got a knack. You got a knack. Can I ask you what software you're using for this?
I'll email you.
Okay.
I'll literally send it all to you. I have a bunch. I have a bunch. Yeah.
My software probably could do it, but I just haven't figured it out. I just signed up. So I can do individuals, or if I do a group, I have to splice the picture up and like do individuals face swaps. I love this. This is great. The A team, the AA team. That is too funny.
This looks like the Alcoholics Anonymous team.
That's hilarious. Man. Okay. So guys, I think I'm just going to end the chill stream today. Last call for any questions. Yeah, this is awesome. I love it because when you do thumbnails like that, like today's thumbnail, I'm Jackie Gleason. It's fun to make fun of yourself, because we could take ourselves too seriously. Let's see. I want to remind everyone that Gary has a book, How to Keep Your Kids Catholic. Thanks for doing that. Prevent them from being snatched. Yep. Well, thank you. Yeah, How to Wolf-Proof Your Kids. That's like one of my forgotten books. Although I need to update it, though. The wolves have changed. William looks so skinny. Yeah, that's true. He's not pumped. It's possible Job was written by a prophet. Yeah, absolutely. That's possible. Okay, guys. So there's your Easter egg for sticking through the live stream.
I have a lot,
Uh,
man. I could really throw you for a loop right now, dude.
Yeah, I just don't want to wake up my family. This is a little dangerous. I might not be able to do chill streams after this. Hopefully they didn't wake up.
Can I show one more?
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
Okay, hold on. Let me set.
You know, this is a great way to end the week. All right,
Uh,
you're welcome, Zeke.
yeah, let's show one of William. Here we go. So this is William as Will Ferrell. 1 second. Let me
Okay.
just get the picture for you. All right, here we go. Now I can upload it.
All right.
Image file.
Thank you, everybody. Again, before you go, don't forget, please subscribe, like, hit the bell. Let's try to, get some visibility. Also, memberships, if you're inclined, we truly appreciate it. Also, Patreon. William Albrecht and myself are on Patreon. And lest I forget, guys, let's support our brother James, Divine Mercy Apologetics. He has some incredible. You think the thumbnails are good? You gotta check out his streams because they're amazing. And also, support him, subscribe, and do all that stuff too. Okay, guys, I see the preview. That's hilarious.
Robert Goulet?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Will Ferrell pretending to be Robert Goulet. So this is William being Will Ferrell, who's pretending to be Robert Goulet.
William's going to get back at you. Get ready. Putin keeps saying he's going to retaliate against Ukraine. William, that's going to shadow in comparison to William.
Oh, I don't think William wants this fight with me, Gary. I'm the last guy you want to have this fight with.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to get on your bad side. I can't imagine the thumbnails you do. It's cool to imagine William with hair, though.
He's not going to let me live this down.
No, this is bad. This is really bad. The hair alone is hilarious. Poor William.
I could keep you here all day. I'm not going to do that.
Okay. Well, hey, thanks. This is awesome. All right. Yeah. Okay. So, guys, again, last call, subscribe, do all that stuff. I really appreciate it. We're going to do a team. God willing, we'll do a team live stream today, 2 p.m. Eastern time. So definitely check that out if you can. It might be middle of the night.
Depends where they are, right?
Yeah, exactly. So wherever you are, or you could always watch the recordings too. I'm not sure who's going to be on. William texted me and said he's thrilled and pumped.
Right. He always says that.
So I think he'll be there. I don't know if David will be there. You are bad, James. You are so bad.
Pulp Fiction.
Too funny. Oh man, Pulp Fiction. Oh man,
no one realized Sam is Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Okay, we gotta go. I'm going to. You know what? I'm going to put this in Canva. I'm going to make it into
send them all to you.
Thumbnails.
I'll send them all to you. Hey, if you want anything in particular, just let me know.
Yeah, I appreciate that, my friend. You're awesome. All right. All right. So anyway, let's see. Make sure I close everything down. You got me laughing so much. I hope they don't attack me for putting this stuff up.
Oh
I
man.
can't imagine it. I mean, I'm an easy target, guys. All right. So, guys, thanks so much. Let's see here. I got to get out of here. All right. It's 2 o'clock today. Please join us. Love to have you. God bless everybody. Thanks, James, for coming on.
God bless you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Let's see if I can do the outro. There we go.